So go down. This is a separate program, so gmap.net. He modified it though, so it's a little different. I'm gonna go to. I'm just gonna look for K-Song. Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna throw up the Google hybrid map so I can see where K-Song is. I'm gonna manually search for it. Oh, I actually can't find it this time. Interesting. I do know it's on the border between North and South Korea, though. That's where there'll be some interesting. Oh, here it is, K-Song. Let me go back to the Google satellite map. I'm gonna copy all this. Zoom level, man. I'm at level, I think 15. Hopefully that's not too big. So get static, generate 15. Oh no, that's not big at all. And there we have our detailed, and also has a world file, as you can see right here. That's just so the command knows where to throw it in. So quit that. Load. Oh wait, no, not load. Custom overlay, add layer. Let's see, I'm also gonna make this a YouTube video just to. I'll cut this part as a separate video just to show people. I have some friends who might be interested in wanting to know how to do this. My desktop, it's pretty messy, but I have it so the icons don't pop up when I just use it like normal. So it usually, for big files, kind of says it's not responding, but then it loads them in. So as you can see, zoom in right here, and K-Song is pretty detailed. So you can make out buildings and street signs and whatnot. So I'm gonna start with our first item, our first object unit. Go here. We have so first we have 4 categories. We have aircraft, surface ships, submarines, and facilities. Facilities are things like anything on the ground, basically. Vehicles, infantry, buildings, anti-air, radar. So first off, we're going to look up for the K1, A1 main battle tank. It's actually, I think we'll just go with Abrams. Most people are familiar with an Abrams. M1A1 Abrams. So first of all, just to demonstrate the complexity of the system, we have for land vehicles, it's a bit more simple because the game actually isn't made for land vehicles. This is just kind of thing they tacked on, but it works pretty well. See, every tank has its own generic laser rangefinder for its gun, a generic gun director, which is a TV camera, LLTV. So normally, there's a lot more complexity, but for tanks, it's just the generic one. So this is kind of, I'd say it's unfair to tanks that in real life have advanced targeting systems because it just throws them all at the same level. So technically, like a E50 and an Abrams would have the same amount of, theoretically, be just as accurate. And then, let's see if anyone's asked any questions. Way too overpriced. Yeah, here. Yeah, I think I'll go over the pricing element. So yeah, I'll just show you. So first of all, we also have weapons. We have weapon mounts. In this case, each mount is actually its own vehicle. So it's a little different than, say, an aircraft or a surface ship, but I think starting with the ground level it's much more simple to explain. Right here, and also I can add weapons. I could hypothetically throw a javelin launcher on an Abrams, but we'll just go see each Abrams has its 50 caliber machine gun. It's got a 120 millimeter cannon, as well as its M240, an M240 with its 7.62 millimeter machine gun. And in each armored unit, there's usually 4 tanks. There's a few I've seen with 3, but we'll just start with that. Right here we have the orders. I'll just show what you can do. Attack. You do a bearing only launch. You can engage targets automatically, and it kind of, the AI just figures out how to advance to that target, as well as determine what it needs to shoot at it. So if the Abrams starts shooting at infantry, it's going to switch to its 50. But if you shoot at tanks, I'll just use the 120 millimeter. You can ignore your plotted course. I haven't plotted a course yet, but normally when you order an attack, the unit will still follow a plotted course. So this is useful. So, for example, if you have a bomber, you can usually use you can set it on a strike mission and then have it on a manual plotted course just to evade anti-air and such. But that's the level of micromanagement you can go to. The simplest form is just to say, hey, attack this, and it just flies over there, attacks that, will defend itself if it needs to. You also have an ROE. So this seems very complicated from what I'm saying right now, but really you can ignore all of this. You can ignore the sensors, you can ignore really looking at the weapons for the most part. You can ignore the mission. There's a mission editor, not to edit like a scenario, but for a specific mission for a vehicle to be on. And see, most of this stuff you can just ignore. So there's as much micromanaging as you want. It's not that complicated if you just want to just get into it and just have fun. So take this armored platoon. I'm just gonna order it to drive in North Korea. You can see. Okay, press play. It's kind of turning unrealistically because it can just. I mean, a tank can do that in real life. Just turn on because it's treads, but I think trucks will as well. So it's a little unrealistic on the ground combat. Plus, the topographic data isn't. I don't know, but I think it's an early development. So ground vehicles aren't affected by topographic data as much as the other vehicles, because that's not the focus of the game. But I think it's an easy starting. Let's see, should that be the K2 or is both the K1? Oh yeah, the K2 actually isn't in the game, but if you wanted it to be, you could just go up to their website. They update the database very often, and you could just tell them, hey, I want the K2 in the game, and just kind of link them to what it is. And I mean, K2, they'd know what it is. Just say the South Korean main battle tank K2, and they'd throw it in. For some reason, it's just trying to get onto that waypoint. But yeah, so you can request any vehicle, any plane, facility, radar in current existence that they don't already have in the database. Just to show you the database, I'll go back here to game. And we got lots of units. Tons of units. So if we were to scroll down, it would just go forever. Also ships. Tons of ships. This is every nation. The original scope of the game is from the 50s to modern times. Oh, and just for reference, this is only the modern database. There's a modern database and a Cold War database. So yeah, this has just ridiculous amounts of facilities. There's also generic ones, just, for hypothetical situations. And then tons of different weapons. And the original scope of the game was to be from the 50s up, but on requests of players, they've added varying World War II. Like I think they have most of the Imperial Japanese vehicles. For some reason, it doesn't like that coordinate I gave it, so I think I'm just gonna, or just go straight to one. I've never had that happen, but let's hope it doesn't act at. Kinetic Sheep said, I wonder if they're the T-80. Yes, the T-80 is in the game. I actually used that in the Poland and U.S. versus Russia mission that I did a little earlier today. And that also shows a kind of a gap in the database, as the Poles only have T-72s in this game. So if I wanted to, I could request that they give them I think it's a T-80 variant that they use. They also have Leopards. But I'm not really making missions. I think ground vehicles are low priority for them if it doesn't relate to modern air combat. But also, if I wanted just as a stopgap, if I wanted a Polish Leopard, but I didn't, they don't have it in the game, I could just put a German Leopard and find what model is the equivalent. Any other questions about the game? Larry, you really want? Yeah, it's a pretty cool game. And so as you can see, the Abrams is just invading North Korea basically. You can also adjust the throttle, creep, cruise, full flank. It's just a manual override. Also for vehicles, for air vehicles, there's a altitude control, so you can have it fly whatever altitude you want. Usually just goes to whatever the cruise altitude is for that particular model. Also for subs, you can control the depth. So yeah, so really just start you off with an armored unit. Gonna switch to Red 4 over here. Pause. gonna turn on the God Eye, which just enables me to see the blue 4. And since we're in North Korea, I'm gonna see I can search by country right as well, but I already know what I want. So Chonmaho. It's a T-72 knockoff, basically, locally produced North Korean. And turn off God Eye. So I'm just gonna have it sit there and wait for the Abrams doesn't see it either. I'm just gonna have the Abrams continue down that road until it is within range of the Chonma. It'll probably see the Chonma first, but actually I don't know. Yeah, the Chonma sees it first because I guess the Chonma's stationary, so it's a little harder to spot. We can have that fire upon the red 4, and as soon as it starts firing, the Abrams sees it. So I'm gonna cancel the Abrams movement so it can just automatically move, and I'm gonna have it auto fire. So as you can see, this is pretty simple, and it's let's see, why isn't it firing? See, the thing is ground combat's kind of wonky. It's obviously not the focus of the game. Okay, there it is. It's got the targeting, and it's firing its cannons at the Chonma. So as you can see, that didn't take that much effort, which I just pressed F1 and selected that Chonma on it. They're firing back. It looks like because of the delay, it almost looks like the Chonma is going to win, which is unrealistic, but because the game doesn't really accurately model ground combat, it's to be expected. It's really just who shoots first and who's got the numbers if we're dealing with tanks. So yeah, it looks like the Abrams have been destroyed by the by the Chonma-ho, which is just basically a T-72. So not very realistic, but it does give you a look at ground combat. Air combat and naval combat are a lot better than that. Let's see. Yeah, see, you're saying you don't want it because North Korea is a little too overpowered in this game. But yeah, it's just because ground combat was never really a focus. The only reason that tanks and such are in the game is basically to present a target for your airstrikes. So if this was U.S. versus North Korean air, the U.S. would just dominate them because the systems, sensors, weapons are very accurately modeled. For tanks, not so much. Because I'm gonna go pop in the database. Actually, no, I'm just gonna pop add unit. Let's look at let me add a Chonma, and let me add an Abrams. So we look at these. We look at the sensors. Each one has the gun director and the rangefinder. Sensors, rangefinder, and a gun director. So they basically have the same things because the devs haven't bothered to implement real gun direction systems and such, so they're technically equivalents. The only difference is what they're firing, 105 versus, I think, 120, right? Yeah, that's the only difference in the game and what weapon they have, so land combat's just kind of good for showing off just the basics and the simplicity of the game. And let me go add unit. So, and I'll just throw it back in case on, just because we have the high resolution imagery right there. So I'll show you how. Actually, I'll show you how air combat works. I think I'm just gonna import. I can manually place stuff, but importing is easier. I am on blue for right now. Let's go to import. So I'm gonna load units from file. Gonna import. Let's look. U.S. Japan. Okay, I'm gonna throw in Kadena Air Force Base, Misawa Air Force Base, Seattle Air Force Base. I'm gonna throw in Anderson Air Force Base as well as the Guam radars. Actually, I might bother Guam radar. They're not going to be a threat in the scenario. And then Kunsan and Osan Air Base. So right now we've got 2 air bases in Korea, a few in Japan, and then we also got Guam. So I'm going to start off with, actually I'm starting with Kadena. The editor. I'll just show you kind of how the operations at airfield goes. So let's say I want to add a global hawk. Actually, nah. Let's see. F-22 Raptor A.